this is what I'm going to talk about this morning is just a little scenario that came up recently on a transaction, and Austin and the agent were involved in talking about it. It's not something that you have to worry about very often, but the issue is having to do with the delivery of possession. Do you all know what what the RAIN contract says as with regard to when possession is to be given to the buyer? I'm sure you do.
You can answer at closing.
At settlement. And that it usually doesn't make much difference. But when is settlement actually complete? And that is when the settlement agent has all the funds, all the money, and all preconditions in the contract for the completion of the transaction have been met. That's usually not an issue. But there are sometimes scenarios where we as the settlement agent know that the settlement is not complete, but maybe you as the agents for the parties don't know. So for an example, all the documents have been signed, but we don't have the lender's wire, or we don't have the buyer's down payment funds wired into our account yet. So technically speaking, that closing is not complete, and technically speaking, the buyer is not entitled to the keys yet. Another example, this happens a lot, but again, usually is not an issue. Seller has signed at their settlement agent's office, and the deed has not arrived at our office when we're representing the buyer. We don't have the deed by the time the buyer is finished. So technically speaking, that closing is not complete. Or the buyer is signed remotely and their documents are out in FedEx land somewhere being overnighted back to us, but we don't have them yet. And I realize that the more common course is for the buyer's agent, I guess, to take the key out of the lockbox and give it to the buyer. And if I had the key as a settlement agent, without express permit seller, I couldn't hand it over if one of those preconditions, like I didn't have the money or I didn't have the deed or something like that, I would not be able to hand over the keys. So we're always happy when you all take care of that yourselves. But if you do have a situation where you have you're a listing agent, you have a seller who is very particular, or you have a transaction that's been really fraught, you may want to entrust us as the buyer's settlement agent with the keys, and have us not give the keys until we know that all of those preconditions have been met if you're worried about liability in a particular transaction.